We do have a quorum. Thank you. We do have a quorum. Michelle, do you have the roll?
I do.
All right, so I'm gonna call the meeting agenda to order. We do have an agenda to be approved. It's one item, special meeting. I want to thank everybody for making it. We didn't have a regular scheduled board meeting, but I do appreciate this great attendance here for a special meeting, and I do appreciate your time, and it's valued, but this is a good one to be at. So thank you for being here. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Support.
Move to support it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Do we have any public comment on agenda items? Easy. All right, so a quick background story. We were approached by Altera Development, looking at properties within the Marshall area, whether it was the major campus or the LDFA property. And quickly, we got them in touch with city staff and Derek. We were trying to figure out what capabilities the city has to get them there. I'm sure at some point Derek will speak to that. They created a purchase agreement. I'm sure at some point David will speak to that. But I think we're just gonna let them go and talk about who they are and what they want to do. So I believe it's Mr. James Jarvis and Altera. It's all yours. So
Let me share the screen. Let's see. Yeah. David's getting that up. Let me introduce myself. James Jarvis. I am the founder of Altera Development. This is an organization that is really around technology or mission critical technology spaces. And bringing those to light and to life in ideal areas for the cloud infrastructure business. My reputation or my background is 30 years in the technology and construction industry, working for some of the largest cloud providers in the world. A portfolio that I manage is roughly around $20 billion annually in CapEx, with credit of overseeing over 800 data center type projects or technology projects throughout my career. I am, like I said, the founder of the organization. I believe you guys know both Joe and David. I think it's important to call out that this venture of ours actually started about just over a decade ago. And I think that's what brought Joe and I and David into this area. And it has been quite an adventure for us. Although we got sidetracked into some other opportunities, this has always been something that has been on the radar for us. It's just back then, it wasn't quite the right time, not just for Marshall, but for Michigan as a whole. The technology industry has been really focused on key parts of the US, a lot in Silicon Valley, the Northwest, starting to spike now in parts of Texas, of course, the Eastern Corridor. Those have been large areas. Right now, and again, this is something that we've been kind of really focused on over the last year or so, is this has always been a target area for us because we've seen the value it has. Proximity to, different areas around around the space. As you guys have probably seen, there is a big movement in towards Michigan right now. I'm sure you guys are seeing a lot of that in the press and the news of what's happening. One of the things that's driving our effort in today's conversation is to ensure that Marshall has a place for that, to be a part of that tech hub that is happening. And one of the reasons why we're trying to do this is so that we can be at place at the table. I think an important part and kind of my attraction to, I'm just talking.
yeah.
So one of my attractions to Marshall, and I'll just be very open, I fell in love with the area. I think it's great. I've brought my in-laws to Marshall, who are, Philippine immigrants. And it is something very special here. And then knowing that we have this type of opportunity, the availability of infrastructure, makes it a key area for us. So the vision of this technology part is really to really build that partnership between the community, all of you and ourselves, to make and put Marshall on the map for this technology hub that is happening around the area. This technology park is really a driven collaboration between, of course, the city leaders, schools, the LFDA, and our private investments that we believe will help bring and renew or bring new energy to this area, creating new pathways for careers in technology, skilled labor. It has been a big part of what I've done throughout my career over the last dozen or 2 years. Enhancing infrastructure, which has, of course, benefits to the community, sharing local benefits, programs that reduce cost and reinvest into Marshall.
Yeah.
So what we believe, or why that we believe this is important to Marshall, is because of the economic impacts. What a project like this would bring to the area would be somewhere close to 2,000 prevailing wage jobs. That's from a construction project. This is what we believe is capable with what we're talking about, with the available power that we have currently, as well as what's forecasted and what we could bring to the area. You're talking about close to 1.3 billion in wages for local contractor spends. Once the facility's up and running, and again, I'm giving like kind of the max 5-year forecast for this, you could be anywhere from 300 to 500 jobs, full-time staff jobs, which will pay on an average somewhere between $78,000 and $180,000 annually. So that would be local community people living in these areas, spending in these areas.
Yeah, so during the construction phase, it's multi-year, probably 3 to 5 years. And that's what the first 2 bullets are. In that time, it's a lot of construction jobs, and 2,000 annually and 1.3 total over the course of 3 to 5 years of a job of that kind. There's a lot of diligence work, and we'll get to that. This is assuming we can check the boxes on all the diligence of what we envision and think we can do. If that's possible, it's a $10 to $15 billion investment, assuming the diligence goes through and what we think we can do. Minimum community benefits would be a $3 million community fund.
Yep.
That would Marshall's sole discretion in terms of where that would be invested.
No, it's okay. No, and I
just wanted
Yeah, I think it's important that the project is centered around, especially those tech jobs, get ahead of the training, get the people ready that they can go into those positions and be successful.
So there's 2 things that I've done throughout my career, and one of those being, the whole workforce preparation. I'll share just an example. Over the last few years, I started 2 programs that we rolled out to community college to train fiber technicians as well as technicians that would work in these spaces. Well, sometimes we land these locations in very rural areas that don't have that skill set yet, so we have to invest in the community. That's like bringing this investment of the $3 million to help drive those programs and bring that education to the local communities. It's such a key part. Once we have somebody identified for this, there's a tremendous amount of community engagement. One of the key areas, and I think data centers are all over the news right now. But one of the things that is a focus point for us as a developer, as a general contractor, as a cloud provider, is they want to be part of that community. They want to integrate into the community. It is critical for them. So you will see them make investments into the community, whether that's nature trails, whether that's giving back. One of the things that we do across all of the projects I'm doing is local drives during the winter, whether that's Coat for Kids or food drives or just community things. It is about engaging into the community, and that is a critical part. One of the things why we identified this area as being it is because there's this community. I look around this table and see all of the different, backgrounds and where people are coming from and the way you guys interact. This is it. This is Marshall. And it was exciting. It's one of the reasons why I continue to come back to this area. Right? It is a special area and I think it's got a lot of potential. And I believe that, you know, from just my own experience working in this industry.
Yeah, I can talk to this slide. This project's really, and just like it's headed, this project's really about unlocking the value through consolidation. We all know that we've been looking at this site for so long and we operate other businesses in the park. So I'm really excited about this job and what it can mean for the community. And we all know these have been vacant for a long time. And I think we all know or recognize that individually, these sites will still remain at a slow progress to develop. If they're really treated as separate buildouts. By combining these, we really feel like we'll accelerate that into one park, a Marshall Tech and Energy Park, and really extract the value, accelerate that, and bring that back to the city, which is really exciting. What you see here is a conceptual program of what we think today the area looks like. And the outline is what we're asking for in the purchase agreement. The green areas highlight existing wetlands. The blue areas highlight buildable area. And then the brown areas represent where we would lay power infrastructure and power generation. Our approach will be one that honors and keeps the integrity of what Brooks Industrial Park, the Brooks Nature Center represented initially. We'll do that through strategic wetland mitigation to only optimize buildable area so that we can extract the value out of the buildable area. We'll enhance existing wetlands through stormwater management. And like Jamie was saying, I think it's critical and as we get further into the project, look at how we connect the Brooks Nature Center, still keep access to open areas and that nature aspect of what the development initially represented. And you guys know our back, I mean, some of you I know, some of you know me really well. I'll just remind everybody too, I spent my career prior to our current endeavor, our recent endeavor as a licensed engineer, licensed builder. I've worked large scale projects my whole life through military construction and private development through Turner Construction. So like to get back to these roots is really exciting for us. And I'll hand it over to David.
Yeah, and funny story. I used to work with James in the technology space 10 years ago, building out a similar background program. And honestly, 10 years ago, it was a dream for I always believed in. It's kind of like laying railroads and highways. This is new infrastructure and is a must. And even 10 years ago, we were thinking that. So what's unique about this property and challenging at the same time, I think it's important to understand the critical elements to even think of a project of this scale to get there. One, there's a lot of wetlands and there's a significant amount of time and investment to mitigate that. However, our partners that are behind us, it's okay, our partners that are behind us are looking at other communities, but this one in particular, because we're here and we do business here, we want to bring the value here, but also there's gas and the future, the Helix Hippo line, I'm not sure if you're aware, which is with ITC, which is still down the line. It's 4 years, but these projects of this scale take time. So as long as the Helix line is coming and we can bring it to this site and the gas is here, those things are critical for this project to even be viable. And the third critical thing is the wetland mitigation because you need space. we're constricted on power and space. If the power is there, then we're restricted on space, and that's where the wetland mitigation is, and we're prepared to make the investments to mitigate that. You know, today is about getting to a purchase agreement. We've already done surface level diligence is what I call, like, we spent time, we spent money, not a lot of money, but enough money to say, you know what, this is viable and we should proceed further, but we can't proceed further because it's a lot of money and we need to actually have a purchase agreement. That's what today is about. Today is not about, you know, site plan approval, what it looks like. Those are really good problems to have once we get there. So the steps that we think is purchase agreement, diligence, validation, community engagement, then development. And we think that would take a good 9 months of diligence, assuming, you know, there's multiple jurisdictions where state, federal, local diligence requirements.
Can I add something, David?
Yeah.
We have a lot of the due diligence teed up and ready to go. And the reason why it's gonna take that long, there's a list of things that David's gonna go through. And just an example is the wetland delineation needs to be updated. We can start that and we'll get a good chunk done and those teams are ready to go. We won't be able to finish it until the spring because right now things aren't growing. So we'll go out and collect what we think we can, but they'll still come back in the spring and finalize it. So there'll be a big gap. So once things start to grow again, we'll be able to finish that.
Yeah. So this is a high level what it takes between environmental, power, gas, transmission, and civil. And each track requires engineering, environmental review, regulatory approval, and a lot of coordinated work with a lot of different people. But we've already sat with ITC and had discussions about the Helix Hippo and their work starting that.
Just for the group, that's
Yeah.
the electric side of things, the high voltage transmission that gets them the power that they need to our area.
Yeah, and we can just go through here. What's already in progress is what I just mentioned. We've engaged ITC and Marshall Power to conduct studies on what's available today versus what's available down the line. Some surface level diligence on interconnection and feasibility, where we need to coordinate. We've had discussions with Eagle surface level on what is possible in terms of mitigating wetlands. But this is just a high level overview of what needs to be done. And, you know, I'd like to simplify things, even though this is very complex, just so the audience knows there's just a few critical things for this to happen, and it would be the transmission line that Derek just mentioned. Like, we have to coordinate, can it even get to this site? The second thing is, are the gas pressure lines enough pressure to generate energy on the site? And then the third would be the wetlands, which is still a big deal, because if we can't kind of fit the site, it wouldn't work. There's many other things, but those are like the three critical things if I were to simplify what we need to accomplish in the next 30, 60, 90 days, and we'll move pretty fast.
Validation of that is what will be critical.
Yes.
Bringing in that partner, working in with the right cloud provider to identify that.
And
So
it-
that is what they will look at to deviate from where they're potentially looking
Yeah.
right now and
And
show the attraction to this.
yeah, full disclosure, we were in talks with them, not particularly this location, but we know the Michigan region, they're open, and, you know, we'd like to steer them here, but time's of the essence. Thank you for making the time and creating this special meeting. That's why there's a level of sense of urgency, because it's a significant private investment that's at risk. to do this type of diligence, and also time is pretty of the essence. The fiscal and TIF impact, this, assuming the diligence proves out, adds significant high-value taxable property. Assuming all those three critical things happen, this is a minimum of $10 to $15 billion investment, could be more depending on the wetland mitigation and what can actually be fit. But we've done some surface level, like minimal wetland mitigation. We should be in that range, in that 10 to 15. It could go higher, depending on the scale of which the power, how much power can come to the site and how much room we have to build. It generates millions in annual property taxes, funding schools and city services. It creates the new TIF capture, supporting the LDFA infrastructure projects through 2046. This is through the mandate that you guys have. Requires we're not looking for financing. We're not looking for tax rebates. This is all private financing, and positions Marshall for long-term economic health through sustained tax and TIF growth. This is the decision today. This approves what we're looking for is approval enables due diligence without any financial exposure for the LDFA. Where we would be a committed private partner that's ready to undertake the essential groundwork to unlock the value of the land. It'd be supporting LDFA's mission by creating jobs, expanding the tax base, and delivering vital infrastructure. Approval does not authorize construction, but grants permission to validate Marshall's potential at the end of the day. This approval isn't a build permit, it's permission to prove Marshall's potential. And that there is so much work to do. And we always talk about it. It's conceptually it works, but there's so much work to do and time and money to unlock the value. So I think we hold hands along the way as we get updates and everything else. Also, as part of the purchase agreement, we've agreed if we're down the line and we create all these reports, and for some reason the power is not right, the gas isn't right, or we can't mitigate wetlands, we would give you all the materials that we work on as a part of that. So all the work will be handed over to the city to figure out what can be done if we can't do this. But I feel, and we've been here a long time and we know the park, it's hard when the sites are fragmented, when they're separated. And, putting one or two lots together is tough. This is interesting because we can put them all together, and when we put them all together, then we can, even working with Eagle, we can mitigate things even on its own site to satisfy Eagle. So we just got to go through that work, but I feel very confident, and we do have this financial support because if we can unlock that value and the power's there, it makes a lot of sense. It's a great location. It's an industrial park, and I think
We don't have to rezone. This is already in zoned industrial. It's in zone I1 and I2. So
the offer is, it's when we put that site together, it's 112 buildable acres. We're offering 1.12 million, which is $10,000 per buildable acre. And we have 180 days due diligence with extensions, with a few extensions. And if we're extending that, and we would show progress, and the extensions are non-refundable deposits of $10,000 each. And the deposit is $25,000. And we've sent a purchase agreement to David. And our goal, with your permission, we would like to execute and kick off our proposals starting tomorrow So we can get to, get some of these answers, some of these questions, answered on these things, but. That's it. I think we should, end there with any questions.
Yeah, and again, thank you for putting this together so fast. I know the
Yeah.
pace is fast and we didn't give you guys a lot of time, but we really appreciate it. So.
Yes.
I got a couple questions for you. The mitigation of the wetlands, do you anticipate being able to either replace them with wetlands somewhere else or, okay, because I wasn't sure.
More within the site.
So our initial conversations would be, there's a couple options. You can, banks available. If it's offsite, you can mitigate
Right.
and donate to the bank and replace through that. Or you can work with people and try and mitigate on site.
Yeah.
I think, people in the area would probably want to anticipate what it would look like. So is it going to be, 12-foot fences all the way around? So everybody's gonna be like, what is that? Or, do you have some sort of visual just
There
to?
are some security. One of the things that we've done, is, again, going back, is we want to integrate into the community. So we've seen a lot of different things that makes it blend kind of seamlessly into the background. So one of the things that we would want to do is bring in a partner that would want to preserve that, that area for what it is. So there are ways to do that. Yes, there are going to be security fences. Of course, this is mission critical facilities, right? There's a trust and compliance with that type of data. So, but there's ways to do it that makes it blend very naturally into the background.
Yeah, and that will come also with site plan approval.
Oh, of course, yeah. I just, I know it's preliminary
Bylaws.
and you can't
the
promise,
zoning.
but.
Yeah, it would,
Just,
I think just the location, even in the park, lends to
pretty private.
natural screening already and working with those natural features,
Especially with all the wetlands, because we're not gonna be able to get rid of all the wetlands, and that's not our intention.
David, can you go back to the overhead?
And one of the things I would say is that we will want to bring in a partner that brings that same value and appreciation for this type of environment, right? And they are, like, almost everybody's doing this now. I have numerous projects where they're building parks, they're building community centers, like they're attaching a lot of this stuff to it because again, they want to integrate into the community.
Could be berms as well, could be part of everything.
A couple points.
so
So-
these out?
Sure. Couple points in Article 1.1A are the parcel numbers. So in this meeting, we're going to do a resolution and we're going to pass that. And that is to approve this purchase agreement in substantial form. And the substantial form is, there's times in which we have to make some adjustments, right? I mean, that's just the way life is. And so we've recognized some things, and that is, David, James, and Joe, this is yours. This is not a city generated thing, okay? And so we figured out in the last few hours, days, that the southern part of this, and David, am I correct that the southern part?
Southern part is not included.
So that southern part's not included at this time because that's actually not LDFA property, that's city property. So that's not contemplated within the purchase agreement.
Do you want me to clarify? So there's a large portion of land. Everything contemplated in the purchase agreement is represented with this outline. There's still a large section of land that's about 160 acres that does have some buildable area. And could be used for that enhancement and wetland mitigation that sits below here, but that's not LDFA control, that's City of Marshall control.
So that's not part of it.
Yeah, it's not part of the purchase agreement. When we do the diligence, we will review that parcel as well. And if this all works, then we set another process to offer on that other parcel as well. But it's mostly wet. For our site planning purposes, most of the building will be where the blue is. So I think the southern portion is a nice one to preserve the environment. Cause it butts against the lake and the preservation park. So that's not part of today's purchase agreement.
Another section on page 2, 1.5, earnest money is actually $50,000, not 25.
Oh,
So
sorry.
it's 50. All right. So if it
If we do it
closes,
one more time, will it be 100?
This is the first time that we've like,
right,
so I'm like, okay, you can go through it, but this is the first time that I've seen it
right.
and I kind of like to read things.
I just want to point out a couple of things along the way that David was commenting. There's that 180-day inspection period. To close 30 days after that, there's 3 90-day options that are built in with a $10,000 per option. And if it doesn't close, those options are waived, they're non-refundable. I'm actually pleased that myself and 2 attorneys in my firm and one of my affiliate firms actually went through this as well. And this is rather quick in terms of a turnaround time, and we really recognize that you folks may have to take a little time with this. I heard a few things and I wanted to kind of interject while we're still on this certain subject.
And I mean, normally we don't get these. We just depend on our attorney to do his job and prevent any liability and everything. And that's.
We get that, but ultimately it's our responsibility to make sure that we're looking at a purchase agreement and making sure that we get our questions answered, because ultimately we're the ones that are making the decisions
Yeah, if we have questions.
based on the expertise of our attorney.
Again, so the purchase agreement, the most important thing why it's urgent in the sense of urgency is the amount of work that we need to do, and you can't pursue, like, spend money with something contracted. So we're not approving the entire site plan of this development, to be clear. This is approving, let's try to figure out these wetlands and all the diligence required. And we're putting hard money down to go through that.
And just a point, Matt had volunteered to look at it from, and I'm not trying to put you on the front of this, but Matt had volunteered to look at it from a strictly real estate, commercial real estate transactional piece with his expertise. And I think you had a couple minutes to look at it, but I don't think very much. But I think, did you get through it? I just want to hear your opinion.
I got through a lot of it, the first part. It all seems pretty, fair, standard. They have a lot of days to do their due diligence. Because they need a lot of days to do their due diligence. It's not a 30-day deal. So that process is really what the first hurdle is. And of course, title review, the good news is these properties have had searches on them, because we did that. Correct. Last year. So, we have some knowledge as to that there aren't any title problems, that are showstoppers. The things I was concerned about when first I drew the map, GIS myself. This GIS map, this one parcel down here in the corner that abuts Stewart Lake is gonna have to be split.
Yeah.
So part of that parcel, or mainly where the farmland is, in the bottom right-hand side.
Yep.
Is not going to be part of the sale, as you can see here, but when you look at the parcel numbers, it's included. But David did a nice job, or whoever did the contract did a nice job of saying, hey, whatever's not in the book, nature.
Yeah.
So, that's there.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned because the parcels include the roads, and the cul-de-sac in there. However, somebody did put in, very, very well done, put in the contract that, they're buying these items, but it doesn't include any city-owned infrastructure, pipes, curb and gutter, roads, etc. So, kind of the out front stuff, that I saw when I briefly looked through it, I think was all addressed. I think it's a nice from what I could see, a nice thing. Now, would we spend more time going over it? Of course. Would there be more questions? Probably, but I'm also sensitive to getting this moved.
Question for city, Derek, you know, this board has seen the solar lease. Where does that lay in this potential purchase and does it have impact on it? Because we've reviewed that already and said, go
Right.
back and bring back a lease contract that this board liked.
Yeah, so in there's language that speaks to another parcel that needs to be divided. That's actually located here because north of here is where the solar project potential would be. But the parcel actually extends all the way down, so that would be another split that would be necessary.
Is that,
to
is
exclude
that
the
like an
solar.
easement that looks like it runs through there? It's not a road, obviously. Is that the pipeline easement that's kind of the?
One of those natural gas large pipeline easements that runs through the property.
We really tried to do our homework and represent that and really take an approach where we wanted to be fair. We didn't want complicated purchase agreement. We wanted it to be more standard so that, you know, we can get this done.
There's really a little panhandle that comes down that's not the one you don't think on there. I can't see it from here anyway.
No, there's another
Yeah,
section that kind of crosses Pratt Ave that goes, and it's really all wetland area. But we didn't want to represent that in this image.
no, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Probably nice.
So
Hey,
go back
based on
to
my quick look at it, I'm.
what Derek was saying and your question, Mike. You know, that lease is not done yet with that solar. I mean, that's still under
That's what we heard,
construction
yeah.
and under consideration, and we'll probably have to talk about that a little bit more because you had wanted some things in that document that they're not there. We're working on some things.
Well, it's a different item. We're only got a one agenda item, one
Yeah, right.
item agenda, but yes, I
And so.
was wondering why it wasn't here.
It was this is standing before that right now. Because there is no document that's been executed. And it's my understanding that if you do decide to do this, that southern part with the solar can be mitigated to where that was not. the
That was
real
not
thing.
even gonna be included in the solar panel project itself,
Right.
so.
So we just need to actually make sure that that's not part of that.
I just wanted to ask, cause
I
there was some.
presume you know the yahoos that own the hole down at the bottom there. You might be able to get that.
Yeah, it's possible.
We're talking,
We're working on that.
You talk to them.
I'm not leading meetings, but Angie, I see your hands. So.
Yeah, Dave, actually, my question's for you. Can you give me the article and section number for two things, just to save hunting through here? One was the part that outlines the extension terms. I see the earnest money.
Yeah.
And then same article and subpoint that was referenced about the work product that comes out of the agreement. Should the project not go forward, I'd like to read that section about whatever it is included in that work product.
B1,
That's,
B1, page
B1.
4 is at the bottom paragraph, is the extensions.
Okay,
It was over on the top of page 5.
Right.
Okay.
okay. And then the section about the work product, is that,
I think I want to draw that to David's.
That is.
Make sure that's in
yeah, I think it is under 3.2.
Yeah.
okay, thank you. I'm gonna put this on that one.
And I'm very keenly aware of working on projects in the past in the park, right? There's for whatever reason, you know, options to whatever. So this is not an option agreement. It's really a purchase agreement. It's not an option agreement. So there's some time when it's built in there, your 180 days. Some of the conversation I've had with Joe, in part, I'll let them have their own thunder here, is that the inclement weather that will come in Michigan is not that far away. So that is impactful, I think, upon their ask. And, you know, trying to get some things done and accomplished. 180 days, you know, if you look at that kind of thing, if you're buying a home or even a business or a smaller business, whatever, 180 days is a long time. There's no question about it. And we have been involved in various projects that have seemed to take, years and not come to fruition. So this 180 days, 90-day option one, 90-day option two, 90-day option three with that $10,000 in there. The map's not up, but other than some future planning, I don't know if there was a rush to the property where we'd say, okay, we gotta cut that 180 days down to 90 days. I don't think it would really accomplish the due diligence. And I don't want to speak for them. I'm just saying from property development and what I've been doing in quite some time in Michigan, and actually post-COVID, whatever year that is, trying to get people to get done and do things timely. I don't know if anybody's experiencing that in their life, but things have taken longer to line up the people to get things done. So I'm not trying to justify their 180 days, but I'm here to tell you that I don't think that's unreasonable. I
honestly, the biggest difference here is, and then that's why I have this on the screen. We're dealing with several regulatory bodies. So I believe in 180 days, we'll know a lot because we're not going to sit. We're moving. That's why there's a sense of urgency. And with us, we're not going to let the other side sit either. So we've already done, thanks to Derek and Kevin at the city, some work. So now we need to do some real work and spend money. And when we spend money, people start moving.
And all the
So-
consultants that we have engaged, that will be engaged, are very familiar with working with these agencies and
Yeah.
departments.
So, and there's a sense of, there's good cooperation both at the federal government and at the state for, like power generation as an example with all those different permits. So they're expediting things as well. But we don't know until we kind of dig into it, and that's why 180 days for something like this is actually pretty fast. And the only reason we would extend is that we've spent a lot of money and we're waiting on XYZ. It could be a permit from the state, or it could be feedback from MISO. It could be the Helix Hippo line. We can't figure out how we route it. There's a lot of different scenarios in which that would be, but we would only be extending if we're waiting on certain things.
Okay, sorry to interrupt
Go.
somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking at 3.1, I see the extension potential for 3 additional periods of 90 days of $10,000 apiece, and that is non-refundable. Well, I would interpret that would come to the city.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at 3.2, and it does, indicate, here if the property is not acceptable, the initial deposit of $50,000 will go back. But any of the other, however, there's nothing in 3.2 about the reports and the work product.
The bottom of page 5.
Bottom of the page.
Just before 3.5.
Thank you.
Since we're having
There's a lot of
discussion,
chat.
can we put a motion on the table that we accept the purchase agreement? So can I make a motion that we accept the purchase agreement since we're already having a discussion about the purchase agreement?
That would be most appropriate, probably.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the purchase agreement as presented.
can they check that motion first? Because it's actually in the form of a resolution.
Yes,
So the purchase agreement is actually in the form of a
can
resolution.
we accept the resolution
2025 dash, I don't know.
One.
I wanna go back to something, Angela. The money doesn't go to the city. It goes to the LDFA.
LDFA, pardon me.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that though.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate
So
it.
we accept so I make a motion that we accept the resolution
Yes.
2025-1, and then at least we have a motion on the table.
Of support for that.
Yeah, I support.
Okay. All right, so now discussion.
One note too, as far as commercial, $10,000 an acre for buildable, that's the land purchase, but when we say we're unlocking value, the real value, if this diligence goes through, is the $15 billion investment, the jobs, the economic impact, the taxes, the community involvement. and the investment in the community. So commercial terms are important, but what we're really approving is us spending time and money to figure out if we can make this project a success. And it is a very challenging site, but it's worth the investment to figure this out.
Question for the city. I've been on the board a while. Matt's been longer, so he might be good to help answer too. When was the last time we had a viable offer for purchase other than Schaefer that backed out of their offer for any of that property?
That's just it. I mean, the reality, to your point, this is a very, very challenging site. And we don't have people knocking at the door. Again, this is an opportunity to combine it all to actually, I think, make something of that site.
Highest and best use.
Otherwise, we may have
It
a
would have
few.
been Willard if you want to call that viable.
Well, I should, yeah.
That was on his mind, but he didn't want to bring it up.
I mean, the due diligence on that was a little longer, wasn't
A
it?
little bit.
And you know, that's a good point, because we have to validate what Will is doing and at different time and place. Today, the demand is strong. We wouldn't be here if we didn't think we had a number of end users that we would work with. But again, I don't trust what Willard did. So we have to spend some money and verify what he's done to see if it can be even accomplished. And then the wetlands and power. I'm gonna keep saying that. There are like three things.
I'll give you just from a hyperscale perspective. One of the things that they have all been bitten by is to come into these spaces quickly before that due diligence is done.
Yeah.
And then have something come up that blocks them. And it is a race right now. As you guys have probably seen, it is an absolute race. In Michigan, it hasn't been here for the last 4 or 5 years. You have Googles, you have the Amazons, you have the Microsoft, you have the hyper cloud builders and developers. QTS, Vantage, these are all people that are like largely playing in this AI infrastructure. And it is a race. It is a race. That's why you see all this hyper energy in Michigan right now. It has been something that I have been preaching inside my own company about the opportunities that exist within Michigan. Now, Michigan hasn't always been the easiest, but it's happening now.
Yeah.
And it is happening, and it is an opportunity to drive tech, be a tech hub, like the Silicon Valleys, like the Seattles, like the East Coast corridor, right? And really establish this as an opportunity.
Yeah, one thing, you know, we're not so focused on what the benefits, but if this will be done, what will be done is that power will be subsidized for the community. If this project can happen, power will go down. We will subsidize, I can promise you, that is part of it. Be a subsidy for the residents of Marshall. That is fact. Now, what's also very attractive here is Marshall Power. So you're not dealing with, you know, this is gonna be a private development of on-site generation, which is, the federal government is accelerating because the whole grid in the United States is strapped. And if we can, you know, natural gas is still clean, it's better than coal and everything else that's happening that they're restarting in some cases, which is crazy. So, but the fact that that's there is a huge benefit for the community to lower the region's cost of power.
So as a point of just expediting this and moving as quickly as possible, I think we'll go around the room with board members and ask if they have questions and work our way around, see if there's any to come back, and then we can open a discussion. But let's take it through the board right now. Beth, you got anything?
No.
Start over there, Des?
Well, what kind of jobs will there be, like programmers or?
So, yeah, that's a great, so,
Yeah.
yeah, let me take that one. So initially it'd be a bunch of construction, but long-term it will be technicians, computer, electricians, mechanical, for day-to-day maintenance. It'll be IT, mechanical. But inside the data center, you're probably talking initially somewhere between 100 and 200 to potentially grow to about 400 employees. is what it would take for something of this scale magnitude. And again, it would be fiber technicians, computer, software engineers. It is, yeah, it covers all kinds of disciplines and skill sets.
And we would create training pipelines with the local community colleges and
Oh, that's it.
colleges
That's
to
absolutely key.
train people,
Okay.
especially the young community. Maybe they don't want to go to college, but this is a great place to actually.
One of the things that we're
Make
doing in
good
almost
money.
every area we build is just trying to build that knowledge about the opportunities that exist within these facilities. I go out to schools and talk about the opportunities in a lot of the different places where we're building, just to drive attention, because there's good money to be made and careers to be had with these types of facilities.
Anything like this, first round?
What's that?
Anything else, first round?
Good luck with ITC.
Yeah. So far, so good.
It goes back to James. James, you have a small thing here. We hear, not only here, but I hear elsewhere, developers that come in and say, if this and if and this and this, whatever the contingencies. And sometimes at the end of that line, you hear, and if we have investors.
No,
But what you're saying is, you're not looking for like state type of investment money, you would not ask, at least at this point, for any tax abatements or anything like that. And you're asserting without giving them confidence is that you have an investment pool that is
yeah,
available.
we're not looking for financing.
No.
No.
So this will all be funded through that.
Matt,
This, Matt?
that man, sorry, I got that man, so you're the next.
I have no real estate background, so that was that, Matt.
Okay, yeah.
I apologize, I thought the room was done, but go ahead.
So I'm glad it's on this map. I mean, obviously, there's color below. And that's city property currently, but has there been discussion of attempting to purchase that and mitigate those wetlands below? I mean, the way the picture is portrayed to me, it looks like you're trying to intentionally leave some stuff off on the bottom. And my concern would be that butts up to Bryce Lake, Stewart Lake. Is there any desire to try and mitigate wetlands to get all the way
We
to build on the lake?
would build on the lake. No, absolutely not. We're looking north to mitigate. And we're not even pursuing, today, we're not pursuing this southern.
This section,
lot.
even though it's part of a tax ID number, what they're proposing is that they're gonna cut this part off to give a buffer on the lake.
Why is the section cut out in the middle?
Belongs to somebody else.
Yeah.
That we're just talking LDFA owned property.
Belong to the city?
No, it's citizens.
Yeah, it's private.
Oh, it's, okay. Well, it's hard to see what is what. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot, I mean, it's a large area, hard to represent it.
Yeah, and that's why
They're not proposing to purchase any land that has any frontage on either of the lakes.
Matt,
That's it.
okay,
Um,
Angie.
going back to the reports, I think there was a slide up when I came in, I'm sorry I was late, that I think it had in the upper left corner, phase 1, phase 2. Could we go back to that slide, please? Before that. Oh, no, that one. Sorry. So,
these are just high level, not even everything, but
right.
it's too much diligence to put in. But
So I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here. I just see an opportunity and I want to be clear about what it is. The time and the investment to do the reports necessary to establish that this is viable or not. That's an incredible cost. So I was just trying to see what it is exactly that package is going to be. So beyond the phase 1 and phase 2, what would be the next couple? I know there's a lot, but what are the next couple other big ticket
Yeah.
items that would fall in that report category?
Like, I was trying to simplify a lot of work. There's three main things that matter. Everything else doesn't.
Okay.
It's routing a new high voltage line that is being built by ITC to come to this site. So there's more investment potentially of consolidating private land potentially, or whatever needs to be done between coordination with the city, Marshall Power, and ITC to bring that line in. That's number one. Because without the line, that's why the Willard project failed. Because the 345 line was like 10 miles away. In this case, in 4 years from now, this is planning, 4 years from now, there'll be a 345 line that comes in that's less than 2 miles away. So we got to figure out how we get that line to this site. That's one.
And that's really important too. It's,
Yeah.
if it's less than 5 miles, it's a lot easier to get that line to our property. And then,
So the reports from that effort would also be included in this package.
Well, it's in,
Yeah,
yes.
yes,
like-
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Keep going.
The second is confirming the gas from 3 different gas pipelines that are in the region. The capacity of the gas, is it viable to do it? The third is the wetland mitigation. So now you have gas, you have power. Do you have the land to build what we need for the amount of gas and power this year? There's a lot more, but those are the 3 things that will allow us to continue to put money in and continue on with site plan and everything else. And make the investment.
I have a lot of questions. But I'm gonna try to be really quick.
Yeah.
Cause I know Matt will roll his eyes at me. So I just want to summarize. 112 acres of buildable, which estimated, so 270 acres total, 1.12 million with a $50,000 deposit. Due diligence over 180 days
Yeah.
with renewals, 3 renewals of 90 days each with a $10,000 deposit. If you decide you don't want to move forward, the $50,000 deposit will be returned to you. If you renew in those due diligence periods, the $10,000 for each additional due diligence period will go to the LDFA.
Yes.
We will receive all work products and investigations and studies as the LDFA. If you do or do not move forward, I mean, I would assume the
Do
city
not move forward, but.
staff
even
will
if we
also
do-
be privy.
If we do move forward, you're gonna have
Sure.
access to.
yeah, we see this as a partnership.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for this to work, we gotta treat it like a partnership.
I would expect that stuff to come up at planning commission level too.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're gonna ask that.
Yeah, site plan.
Are those like the highlights, David Remore? Like anything other significant in the purchase agreement? I mean, I know there's a lot of words here.
There's a lot.
Anything significant?
I like to take credit for it, but it was delivered. And so that's why I had multiple attorneys go over this from multiple firms. Because the turnaround time was rather short, and I do understand the due diligence and what was going on with it. And there's always a lot of pressure because everybody's looking at the attorney that's talking right now without having studied this for 2 weeks. And this is a big lift. This is a game changer for any community that receives one of these. Okay. I think one of the things that you at least have in conversation is that 2 of the 3 people that are in front of you, you've known for an extended period of time. With a lot of investment here too, right? Now, some of the reasons I represent a lot of different municipalities. People like, what happens when you live in that municipality? You know, I worked at a firm and we used to say, never live where you represent the schools or the municipality. Because you are then held to a higher standard, right? Of what's happening in your world. And that one of the reasons why we went through this the way we did over the course of a number of days is because we are very concerned with what's going on. Okay, there's some contingencies here that they have to meet certain things. And in prior projects that were voted upon or put forth, didn't come to pass for whatever reason, but it was no lack of Eagle involvement during those projects. Okay, what I say by that is Eagle becomes involved in any type of project like this, and we're working on other projects right now too. We're trying to do all the due diligence that's possible to make sure those environmental concerns are addressed. And that's always from a professional and personal standpoint, to make sure that we do what we can to make sure environmental concerns are being addressed. Matt, you brought up some good points about there's no lake frontage here, right? And you can't work on a wetland in the state of Michigan without having numerous Eagle people being part of that. I don't know if anybody's ever worked in that area. Angela, I know you have. And so I think it's part of the due diligence, the amount of money that's being invested here. And I've seen these projects elsewhere. I'm not going to go into them. It's no small lift. It's very, very expensive. If it doesn't work for these investors, they're not coming here. And I'm sure there's other sites located. We try to take what we could, given a reasonable amount of time and personnel to go through this. And we have marked it up. I mean, we've changed it. This has been multiple days going back and forth, and sometimes the market, while we're still coming back and forth. And you know, I came in here today and said, oh, you know what? I found a period that had a space between the end of the sentence and the period, right? And, you get a little picky about stuff like that. I think we've tried to deliver, and you're correct. You haven't had this for the number of days that we have. But we're trying to do the best we can with this purchase agreement. It's a little more so than what we're looking at on our residential stuff and even some of the commercial stuff out there. But I think that's because of the due diligence. So when you go through here and you look at the inspection period and those things that have to be done, I think that's important. And it's there. And I didn't see anything that was missing from a number of these things I've seen over the years. But let's be candid. Say they get through the inspection period and there's no extensions and it's working for them. And you close, right? You close. You know what? I say then comes the fun. We call that site plans. Anybody ever work on site plans and all that other kind of stuff to mitigate this and that? And James, who I just met tonight, but Joe, of course, and Dave, I've known for a number of years, is when you look at site plans for things like this, you know, where's it located in relation to the road? Well, you kind of saw where that was. There was some distance on the lower blue. And these sites are security important, security intense. Anybody that enjoys scrolling on their phone is part of this industry. Let's talk about that for a minute. Anybody that enjoys the net, scrolling on your phone, cell phones is part of this industry. And that's the world we now live in. It really is. So there's a lot of things to come. They get through the due diligence, they do the inspection, they close on the property. There's a number of things that need to take place from there for additional type of mitigation things. So I think from a purchase agreement perspective, I think we've tried to cover those things that we can. And I think if it closes, and I say if it closes, there's even more work to be done. James indicated we need maybe a third party on some of this. In my opinion, you've got some people on your planning commission that are highly intelligent with backgrounds on these types of things. I mean, we are blessed to have really a great planning commission, in my opinion. I do this in a number of places. So while it's always new technology, is a little, I don't want to say scary, but it takes a lot of concern and challenge. This is a very good purchase agreement. And I have these things in my bank and I thought, maybe I'll put one together. And before I even had a chance to close that sentence, you know, I got a copy of this and I said, wow, this has been very thoughtful.
Okay,
For us, the main thing in the agreement, it protects our investment. It means that we're both committed. And that's what's important for us and the time. So There's confidentiality language and things like that just protect our interest because of the money we're going to spend. And that's why we're here today.
And there's some purchaser identification things in there that, you know, the attorneys always want to see that our clients are being identified and things like that. I will say that if this is approved, that my conversations with your city manager, Derek, as I go, is that the people that are involved here and the city official side need to really understand what this means. It doesn't mean that you're posting stuff. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, being very lax with things. And some of the things, there's some timelines in here in which the city has to produce within the next amount of days. And actually, those were extended out from what the original purchase offer was, because I understand that life happens to people. And Michelle and I have gotten to know each other quite well over the last few years, as you can imagine. And so I try to minimize the burden of city officials in producing information and surveys and other type of stuff. And David had made a comment that there was prior projects that were envisioned in this area that didn't come to pass. Okay, whatever. Is there a body of work there that needs to be reviewed, whatever? And so the clerk's office and those people that are responsible for records and what have you are going to have a time frame in which they do. It's been extended from what I would say a normal purchase agreement to be able to accomplish those things. And so we have gone through the lines to do this. Yeah. And they're probably more excited about it than I am, because the pressure for me is to talk to you folks about it, right? And to live in a community that continues to evolve economically. Because I came here in 2004. I was on your planning commission, your city council, your ZBA. I saw a lot of industry leave, a lot. And we were very concerned from a family standpoint, if we'd be able to maintain those services that Marshall's known for, you know, your police, your fire, your schools, right? Your hospitals. And we're now working towards, you know, the prior life of deficit elimination plans to moving forward and say, hey, this is a place. And when you look at, I represent a lot of neighboring jurisdictions and do a lot of tax tribunal work. Once had an appraiser license, but we look at terms of what's your life like 15, 25, 30, 40 miles around. When I see something like this, I don't envision 20 or 2,000 people coming to move in overnight. That's just not very realistic. People now drive an hour to get to and from work. I know my main office is in south part of Lansing. And so that's just the reality that we live in. And I think Michigan does still have a highly educated workforce. I mean, what do we have? Universities and community colleges, like 20 some community colleges, 15 universities. But what we're seeing in Michigan, and this is absolutely true, Michigan is doing. People should be very concerned about that, by the way, because those people that are paying into retirement, Social Security, and a number of other things. I'm not necessarily trying to be an advocate for the project, as I am projects in Michigan, projects plural in Michigan, because we would, as a person who's probably got 10 plus years until I retire, who is going to be taking care of us if the economic opportunities are not there for it? And let's be honest, if this doesn't work out for these folks, they're going to go someplace else. They really will. But what do we want for this generation and the future generations? So to be honest, we spent a lot of time in this agreement. I can't tell you it's perfect.
Questions.
Yeah, I mean, I've given you a lot of information.
You are giving me a lot of information. So I want to talk about electric rates. You had mentioned in your presentation that, you know, bringing in this type of industry into the industrial park will decrease electric rates. And I think the people out in the world, especially the city of Marshall, would be very happy to hear that. But if you read the things that are on, you know, all over the internet, they don't always say that. They say that you're actually gonna, you know, it's gonna be more of a burden and it's gonna create more expensive electricity.
Spain, oh, you want to take it?
So I'm happy to hear you say it's gonna be.
No, there's two really critical parts. Is the transmission line that David had talked about, getting that into there, which is going to be funded by the project, which is what typically we would do normally in any of these facilities. The real key to that is the gas generation plant that we are proposing to be part of this bill. That was what will drive clean energy as well as renewable energy or for the area itself. And then we be able to put that type of energy back onto the grid.
And the reason why the number of employees, the 300 to 500, is that because of these different parts and pieces, the regenerative,
Yes.
more so than other projects like
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, so you'll have, yes, so what you'll typically have inside of like one of these facilities, you'll have a lot of computer technicians. So that will make up a bulk of 50% of your staff will be all kind of computer-based technicians. Then you'll have a small staff that will maintain space. The day-to-day operations, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing infrastructure. And then not only will you have that, but you'll have maintenance agreements where you'll have vendors and suppliers that will come into the community to continue to support that. But the base will be somewhere between that.
At full.
At full, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's assuming that 3 to 5 year plan where you're bringing in that transmission line, the gas generation comes to fruition, because those are big key components that will drive, the
How
size
large
the facility will be.
And this, the whole purpose of this part of the industrial park was industrial and research. So it kind of fits into that technology for the
That's
people at home. It fits into that technology vision. And I just want to be clear that this type of project is zoned for this parcel of property. Right, Marcia? Yeah. Okay, just want to make sure. The other thing that I'm really sensitive to is, I think it sounds like a great project. I think it brings in a lot of revenue to the city, to the schools, which I represent. So when you talk about education, it's really exciting for all of our kiddos here. The thing that I am concerned about is just the community aspect of it. That, we want to make sure that we do this right, educate our citizens about the project in a way that gives them enough information, yet obviously you have all of your confidentiality and things that you have to go through with due diligence. But the one thing that I love about Marshall and is really not great about Marshall is our community is very engaged. So everybody knows everyone, knows everything, and has something to say about everything. So I think it's important to engage them on the front end as much as you can, rather than on the back end, because you don't want people marching on City Hall anymore with burning pitchforks or.
It's a journey. And what
It
we want to
is.
do is.
And so I'm sensitive to that because of all of the other things that happen in this community that maybe we can make that a little bit different.
Well, I think it comes back to focusing on the due diligence.
Yep.
Understanding it, because the last thing you want to do is build up false hope about something that may not
Right.
come to fruition. Right, so I think it's just making sure that we do the due diligence up front, lock it in, understand what we can do, what it looks like, the size, scale, and then potentially figuring out what that journey looks like and then making sure we bring one. I think education is absolutely critical. So yes, I agree with you. I've seen it in a number of different areas where you don't bring them along. That's where you have a lot more concern and you get a little bit more pushback.
Well, a lack of information, right?
Absolutely.
People fill in the gaps however they
Exactly.
feel or whatever they read or whatever their neighbor says. And so coming out with
Find it for themselves.
accurate information, especially about this project, is really important because we don't want people filling in the gaps with misinformation, false information.
Yeah, and that's one of the things why the strategic partner that we end up bringing to this area will be someone that brings that same value of educating and being a community partner. It's critical.
And I think it'll start the moment we know the project is viable.
Yep.
Yeah. Right now, it's just feasibility.
And then I have a lot more questions, but those are more project specific and that's not what we're trying to do, but I have lots of questions on
Yeah.
other things. But as far as, I think I'm done for now.
Mr. Traver.
Just one, I don't know how relevant it is now, but so part of the purchase agreement does not include the city infrastructure, the roads that are listing back there, but say the project moves forward. Since you're buying up all these parcels all around it, what does that look like with all the city infrastructure in between that you likely won't need where it's at?
Well, good question. The first part, we would probably try and build around it. And if that doesn't work, which I think it should, surface level. If it doesn't, then we would
Work with the city.
Work to
and
minimize impact.
Yeah, you would,
reroute it.
yeah, we would, that would, the project would bear the cost of relocating those utilities. If there is utilities still going through there, obviously there will be, those will still be under easement. So really, probably what is some minor distribution of electrical that's right there already. That probably services the streetlights and the pad mounted transformers that are on the individual sites. That's all stuff that we could relocate and work with the city in partnership to potentially vacate the road. If that was the best decision for the development.
But so far, we've had test fits where we're actually
Yeah.
using the road.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and our goal would be to minimize that as much as possible. And that's part of what we'll have to do in our due
And
diligence.
diligence.
To make sure we identify all that infrastructure and what it looks like, and what it means for not only us and our partners, but also for the city.
That's the part of
Really
the
good
question
question.
that's actually lighter. I'm going back to the three main.
It'll be a good problem to have, right?
That means the other three things.
I have a couple of things and it's gonna be in partnership. I spoke with Jim Durian. He's the executive director of the Marshall Area Economic Development Alliance today. And you will have to work with him if this goes forward, because he has the connectivity with the city and talking about it, the state and all these regulatory places. He had a lot to do with going on with the major campus. His questions, you answered them, you answered on jobs, you answered them on tax revenue. But he had heard the water usage, and I know it's in there somewhere, but can you explain the concerns that come up in most of these data centers about, are you gonna drain the watershed?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'll take the first stab at this. So it is something that many hyperscalers are very cognizant of. There are a number of them that have commitments against, water usage and being zero water usage, so they will not deplete. So a lot of the technology that we're deploying in these facilities is zero water usage over time. So it is a commitment not to, so there's some systems are actually bringing reverse osmosis into their programs. We've done it in places like Arizona, where water usage is very, very limited and very restricted. So that is the type of technologies that are being deployed more commonly because of the commitments to being energy efficient.
Closed loop. So you fill it before, during construction.
Yeah, once it's filled,
That's
it's
it.
there.
It's done.
And then you end up having filtration systems that.
Because we do, one of the things he mentioned as well, the former group that was trying to develop the power plant, that was one of their issues, right? They weren't able to get water, so they had to redesign to go to a closed loop system, because
Yeah.
Eagle was not letting that
It'd
in.
be similar to the power plant too.
He also said and made a good statement that I think the city has mentioned it, but he said, Mike, it's almost impossible to market those parcels right now. I'm just telling you the truth. And he's shared that with us in the LDFA meetings. It's because of the wetlands, the little bit of buildable here, the little bit of buildable there. So he just said he wants to work. If you guys get going forward, he really does want to work with you. He has really good connectivity. He will be a great resource. From my standpoint, I think you guys have answered it. The city's gonna want the city to weigh in when we get there. So I think that's me.
I don't think I have any more questions. I just want to say thank you for considering our community for this. It's been, the projects that have been happening under the city leadership and the Meta board have just been great for our business in downtown Marshall. And I look forward to continuing to see what happens and appreciate what you're bringing to us.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, well, I'll echo that too. Again, you guys have opportunities to take this anywhere. We do appreciate you wanting to invest in Marshall. It's important for us, especially we received some criticism on the inability for us over the last decades, with an S, to do anything with this property. And I think this is probably the best option we've had in a long time to, again, consolidate all this, mitigate some stuff, truly make some buildable areas and provide some investment. And honestly, get it back on the tax rolls, right? This has generated zero tax revenue for this community, which to David's point, pays for police and fire. And those are the services that, you know, people depend on. And this is how you pay for them. So I look forward to the project moving forward.
Yeah, and be a great partnership with Marshall Power too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother nut we gotta crack, you know, and we could spend hours talking about that. That's a different conversation and one of their, you know, legs of the stool that we gotta get to make sure that works.
Yeah.
Ms. LaForge.
Let's get it done.
Any other further discussion from the board open to any member?
I just have a question on process. So after we get done here, assuming it's approved, and does this go now to city council for approval, or how does that work?
Yeah, so this is a separate authority who has the ability, and that's one of the reasons it was created, to do economic development on these lands, including sale of property. So for this piece that's under consideration, the LDFA has the authority to move forward with a purchase agreement.
After this,
Now, there was the other parcel that potentially in the future, if that makes sense, that's under city control. So that would be, again, a separate conversation. I think there's some opportunities maybe to extend the Brooks Nature Area, you know, create some of that conservation area there, and also work with their project too in the future. So, yeah.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution, Marshall Local Development Finance Authority Resolution number 2025-1, resolution for the sale of real property located in the Brooks Industrial Park, City of Michigan, or City of Marshall, County of Calhoun, State of Michigan, to Altera Development. Got a lot of the whereases. It's got to say when the meeting was called and the time and who were here. Michelle will handle that. And it basically, if you want me to read it, you got it in front of you. Therefore, be it resolved, basically is that we do, meaning the LDFA hereby is authorized the sale of the subject property substantially identified within or identified by warranty deed at close of sale, as approved by the LDFA chairperson or vice chair. Marshall LDFA authorizes and directs its chairperson or vice chairperson to execute a purchase agreement in substantial form, take any other action necessary to sell the subject property to Altera Development LLC, subject to approval by the LDFA's legal counsel. All resolutions or parts of resolution insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this one are hereby rescinded. We are up for a vote. Michelle, please call the roll.
Sue,
yes.
Matt Davis.
Yes.
Desmond,
Yes.
Ethan,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Derek,
Yes.
Matt Saxton,
Yes.
Angela,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and Chair Beck.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Any public comment on non-agenda items? We have a public here. Do you want to have us say anything?
Quasi-public?
Thank you all for being.
Yeah. Well, he is public. He had to get elected. By the way, if you don't know, that is our mayor, Scott Wolfsberger. So, I do have one thing that's after this, but would you guys be conducive to at some point during this process coming and reporting to this board on where you're at? You don't have to give us the specifics, but just say, hey, we're at this point in the diligence, we're doing all right, we're on track, we've got this going. Just to keep the board apprised. It doesn't have to be every month, maybe every couple of months in the process.
We're happy to do that. Absolutely. Would that be private or does that have to be public?
Well, I mean, I think when you do it, it's gonna be public that you won't have to share specifics. Tell us you're on schedule, things are looking, whatever.
Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think it's a great idea.
All right,
Full transparency, and we appreciate the sense of urgency and you guys making this meeting for us.
Yeah.
And we're ready to hit the ground running and.
I know that was largely because of me. I have to be traveling into APEC for a few weeks, so thank you so much. And it is something that we are very urgently trying to start. So thank you so much for you guys prioritizing it. It does mean a lot. We're looking forward to the partnership with the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you, for those of us that are relatively new to the board, just quickly review what our confidentiality requirements are during this?
It's an open meeting.
So there are.
No.
So the world knows now.
Trying
So,
to
yeah,
be-
yeah, the world knows now. So the world.
Cognizant.
Confidentiality in the purchase agreement though.
Okay,
To the best of.
so if I read this,
that
it'll
is
cover
lawful.
what.
Not today, not this meeting.
Right, I mean, as of right now, the world knows
Got it.
what we just did.
Okay,
It's
thank
on
you.
tape and video. These are open meetings, so yeah, for those of you,
I saw the
thank you for being here, or
Saw the
those of you that are
graphic.
watching in the future, thank you for being here.
Stupid.
Last motion I would entertain is a motion to adjourn. Moved and supported, so it's been moved and supported to adjourn the meeting. You can vote with your feet, so if you're sitting here, that means you voted.